Welcome to the next session of this online training called Open Collaborative Innovation Strategies for the SME. In this session, we're going to discuss of the main strategies that SMEs could be employing when trying to develop open or collaborative innovation. Before we enter into the strategies, I would like to discuss how does innovation occur into the organization. Well, on one hand, we have these bigger organizations that are better positioned for incremental innovation. They take benefit of the current knowledge and capabilities, and they have the financial resources to provide stronger competitive position. However, when we're talking about SMEs or new entrants, they can benefit of the radical innovation because they don't need to change previous knowledge and settings. They don't have this structure in their organization. And they actually find it easier to acquire new knowledge and capabilities because they are smaller and more dynamic. In this sense, incumbent firms find it difficult to face radical innovations because they don't have any incentives to invest in new capabilities. They have the risk to cannibalize their own current products, and they have restrictions in their managerial settings. So this sums up to the fact that the bigger organizations are in a more well-structured position, but are not willing to face radical innovations, usually. What are then the innovation challenges? Well, as we said, the innovation process of larger organizations are typically more structured and professionalized. However, when we're facing innovation in the SMEs, we have problems that are mainly resident on the lack of financial resources, the scant opportunities to recruit specialized workers, and the small innovation portfolio. For this reason, SMEs need to heavily draw into their networks to find missing innovation resources in the form of knowledge resources, finance, and this also helps them to spread the risks and reduce their costs. So what are the main strategies when implementing open innovation? There's 4 different types of strategies. One is the inbound strategy, when that includes the acquisition and transfer of external knowledge, ideas, and technologies into our firm. The outbound strategy, that refers to the transfer of this knowledge, ideas, and technology for the external exploitation. The coupled innovation, that refers to the combination of the inbound and the outbound. And the user-led innovation, that is when the user is the one leading the innovation. We're gonna briefly summarize these different strategies and what they mean in the following slides. For example, in the inbound open innovation, when I was thinking about describing this strategy, I remembered one of the cases that I analyzed of an entrepreneur. In his case, he said, well, when I was starting to develop this innovation, I needed to obtain medical credibility, and I needed to find an advisor from Stanford, in his case, that could provide medical reputation to my product. So he was lacking of a resource. His expertise was not in the area of healthcare or medicine in that case, so he needed to complement that. As an entrepreneur, he was lacking of resources, and he needed to develop open innovation. The inbound strategy, it's about bringing in this external knowledge, bringing in some external resources into our organization. So, why do SMEs need to enroll in inbound open innovation? Because they need human resources, and they face liability of newness and smallness. So, due to these resource constraints and scale limitations, they need to incorporate, and they are willing to implement open innovation because external resources or sources can be useful to improve and speed up innovation in SMEs. What risk may SMEs face when they enroll in inbound open innovation? Well, they might have a high dependence on external parties. That is a problem when you don't have this knowledge, this internal knowledge, because This could also lead to facing increased competition if this external knowledge is shared among the competitors. When we talk about outbound open innovation, we're talking about how we're going to externalize our products or services, our innovations for other companies. And when we talk about this topic, then we have to think of who is going to benefit of a novel technology. This relates to this model, which discusses about two main ideas, the imitability and the complementary assets. The imitability refers to the intellectual property, to the know-how, this tacit knowledge, whereas the complementary assets refer to these different assets that might help bring the innovation into the market, such as the distribution channels, the firm's reputation, the marketing capabilities. Based on these two terms, we can identify whether the innovator is the one who's going to get the benefits of the innovation, or this is going to be acquired by the stronger firm in the market. This is represented very well in the example of Diet Coke and Pepsi, Diet Pepsi versus Diet RC Cola. I don't know if any of you have heard of RC Cola, but they were the ones who first introduced the term diet for the Coke industry or the Pepsi industry. However, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi were bigger competitors, and because they didn't protect this innovation, and it was very easy to imitate the know-how, this was easily copied by the bigger competitors. So this leads to explain or to discuss the importance of patents, and they have two main functions. They protect the innovation from being imitated, and they can be licensed out to third parties. So, in summary, protection mechanisms are indispensable to stimulate the firm's propensity to engage in risk and uncertain R&D, investments, and innovation projects. Finally, the coupled innovation is the sum, or is the mixture of inbound and outbound open innovation. The SMEs view networking and cooperation as two ways of broadening their technical competences, as we already agreed. So when they engage in coupled innovation, it's because they are going to share resources between two or more competitors or organizations. This helps to access the complementary knowledge from partners. This also helps to grant access to know-how, difficult to get through to the market transactions, because usually organizations might sell it or have it protected. But when you're engaging into coupled innovation, you're sharing it. And also, coupled innovation might lead to reducing costs and help to share the risks of opening of different innovations. But what are the main risks of engaging in coupled innovation? Well, the monitoring of this cooperation can entail a lot of costs. So that should be taken into account when trying to engage into this type of open innovation. Finally, and as a curiosity, one of the last type of open innovation strategy is the user-led innovation. One of the biggest examples is the sharing economy. This is usually referred as this recirculation of goods, or the increased utilization of durable assets, the exchange of services, or the sharing of productive assets. But what is interesting here is what are the main motivations for a sharing economy. This is usually the trendiness of the novelty of the new technologies, the economy, because this is usually sold as a lower in cost and a way to earn money, because we are avoiding the middleman. It is also sometimes related to the environment. Sharing is usually less resource intensive. It's also referred to the desire to increase social connections by sharing with random people that we didn't know before, but we are bringing together for other reasons, for the sharing reason. Might lead to knowing people that we wouldn't have found or met in another circumstances in our daily lives. And also, it's sometimes related to the commitment to social transformation versus the traditional capitalism. So this is the main ideas of the different types of open and collaborative innovation that we're going to discuss in the future. Thank you very much and hope to see you in the next session.